You can't have fun when these idiots are trying to shove their liberal agenda in your game, man. Dungeons and Dragons heading to inclusive oblivion after removing racial differences. Well, no shit. Who wants to play with a bunch of idiots who need X-Scars or safe spaces or pronouns? Fuck your pronouns. No one gives a shit. Dungeons and Dragons has been criticized for removing racial differences between its cast of orcs, elves, and dwarves. If you don't have differences between the races, you're just playing a human in a skin suit, and that's no fun. You can't have fun when these idiots are trying to shove their liberal agenda in your fucking game, man. At least one person later in the article gets it. David Cutler says, all the species are becoming humans with decorations. Big true, very sad. Losers of the Coast, the game's publishers, has also dropped a post-apocalyptic setting that featured slavery as a part of a drive to make the game even shittier. Talking about Dark Sun, one of the most popular settings in Dungeons and Dragons. Fuck Wizards of the Coast, we should run a Dark Suns game this year, and we'll all play slavers. We'll go recruit some crazy people off of Reddit, and they can be the slaves, and we'll end it with a massive PvP battle to see who survives. Players who are made uncomfortable by an event in the game can now get the fuck out of here, okay? We don't need your bullshit. We don't need your lame, non-role-playing ass at the table anymore, okay? You gotta go! Go play Candyland with King Candy in the Candy Castle, you boring bitch! Announcing the change to the rules, which replaced race with species. WotC said race is a problematic term that has prejudiced links between real-world people and the fantasy peoples of D&D worlds. These whack jobs are saying black people are inherently evil and only capable of violence because that's what orcs are, evil. They want to change everything to sound inclusive, which is ruining the game by making it super fucking lame. The word race is problematic to you? You're an idiot. Seek help immediately. Go to a mental asylum because that's where you belong. The shift follows an earlier reform to two classes, orcs and Vistani, after criticism they were drawn from negative racial stereotypes of black people and Roma gypsies. So here we are again about black people being orcs. I know people who wish they could get away with being this racist. It's crazy that people let WotC slide on this. Anyways, black people aren't orcs, okay? Mexicans are, according to the new official art of orcs in D&D 2024. Check it out. They're trying to separate real world from the fantasy world. They're doing a terrible job at it. Some dungeon masters, the referees who shape the game for its players, feel the reforms is detracting from the magic of the game. And this is true. Every time they bring psychobabble into the game, it becomes a little bit less fun, and the magic of it all just kind of sort of starts fading away. Which reminds me of the Tolkien quote, "Evil is not able to create anything new. It can only distort and destroy what has been invented or made by the forces of good." In the foreword, Dungeons & Dragons historian John Peterson notes a virtual catalog of insensitive and derogatory language in the original 1974 game, including words that are casually hurtful to anyone with a mental capacity of an idiot, okay? If words hurt or offend you, you should move to the United Kingdom where they arrest people for saying mean things, because you don't belong in this hobby. He added, "It's an unfortunate fact that women seldom appear in the original D&D, and when they do, they're usually portrayed disrespectfully." So, women did seldom appear in the core books until 3rd edition, but to say they were portrayed disrespectfully is an outright lie by this John Peterson guy. There's a handful of images, and I'll put them on the screen now, that you can find in the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide for the first 2 editions. Slavery appears in the original D&D, not as a human tragedy that devastated generations over centuries, but as a commercial transaction. Who cares? Next! He also takes aim at cultural appropriation, including a gods, demigods, and heroes range writing, where players expected to fight Vishnu, one of the principal deities of Hinduism, kill him, and loot his +3 sword of demon slaying. If Vishnu didn't want his face caved in by my dwarven boots, he should have handed over the +3 sword of demon slaying peacefully. Critics argued that Ford unfairly smeared the game's creator, Gary Gygax, who died in 2008, as a misogynist and a racist. What this refers to is the comment by Gary Gygax that said, "Damn right I'm a sexist," and it was in retaliation to an article by some insane feminist who wrote an article who was mad that her husband was enjoying playing tabletop game with his friends instead of listening to her nag and bitch all day. That's it. Elon Musk urged Hasbro, which owns WotC, to burn in hell. He wrote on X, "Nobody, and I mean nobody, gets to trash Gary Gygax and the geniuses who created Dungeons & Dragons. What the fuck is wrong with Hasbro and WotC?" You're insulting the creators of the game. It's not really doing you any favors. Every time you attack the creators of the game, the fan base feels attacked as well. So, I mean, maybe stop attacking the people that enjoy the game. Try that. Robert Coons, the last surviving member of the team who created D&D with Gygax, called the publishers snakes. Absolutely. Again, their job should be to make a good rule set and create fun adventures and settings, not spread their communist ideology, but they simply can't help themselves. They're rotten to the core. WotC earlier confirmed that they had hired inclusivity consultants for the making of original D&D. In May 2024, game designer Jason Tondu said the consultants had helped identify language we would not use today in gaming. So basically what happened is WotC hired some Marxist propagandists to rewrite the book. Anytime you hear inclusivity or cultural consultant, it means they're a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, okay? They keep cramming their political agenda in the game, and no one wants it, all right? That's why D&D sucks now. One user wrote on the Reddit D&D forum, feels like everything is focus grouped into an inclusive oblivion. Races and classes in a fantasy, make-believe, role-playing game are gradually being reduced to aesthetics. Why play any race other than human if they don't have unique origins and racial traits? This is just more equality bullshit that they're trying to sell you, but packaged in Dungeons and Dragons. People aren't equal in real life, and they're definitely not equal in a fantasy world where some people are 8 foot tall, some are 3 feet tall, some can wield magic, some can lift huge boulders. One race is green, the other is blue. The list goes on, okay? The demonstrification of things like goblins and orcs is also a travesty. Not everything has to be a morally gray soup. Some things can just be inherently evil, and that's okay. Good take. They're cruel monsters, and nothing will ever change that. Orcs are evil, and that's okay. We'll go over that in another video, though. Writing in Wargamer last week, critic Timothy Linward focused on the new definition of the orc and the 2024 Player's Handbook. They're a smiling family of nomads. They have children, elders, well-cared-for houses, and pet hawks. We're supposed to recognize them as us rather than other. Yeah, they're probably happy because they just got done raiding some human village and their stomachs are fat. And look at this female orc. Nomad my ass. She looks like she ate the whole village herself. She belongs in a damn ocean.
Mercy blows!
But D&D is not a game about creating intercultural harmony in a multiracial community. Could you imagine having to live next to orcs? Be nonstop brutality, violence, muggings, anything bad that you can think of, that's basically what you would be living next to. The rules still center violence, exploration, acquisition, and growth through adventure. Making orcs more than mindless antagonists in a world that requires henchmen and goons simply passes the buck to someone else. Hobgoblins, bugbears, giants, or whatever. In the liberal hellhole that WotC is cooking up for you, you won't be able to adventure. Just sitting around singing Kumbaya and sniffing each other's farts. Disgusting. But sales figures suggested critics are in a minority. Bullshit. WotC executives told the New York Times that the 2024 Player's Handbook is the fastest selling publication in company history. If this book was so popular, they wouldn't have fired over 1,100 employees. Even normie dungeon tubers are hating on Dungeons & Dragons 2024. The rest of the article is just fluff. It was a pretty neutral take, honestly. Go check it out for yourself if you want. I'm getting out of here, though. Remember, stay bad.